Hello! This video is part of a series where I read over old issues of my comic Hellgate and give some commentary. Hellgate started in 2003 when I was 15 and ran till 2009. You can read it for free at jaegercomics.com. This footage was captured from my streams over at twitch.tv/Jaeger_comics. Go ahead and get started. This is Hellgate, Battle 29, Big Niel, from 2007. The last time on Hellgate, Battle 28, the one he truly loves, Niel ended up fighting Aku again, but he still can't lift the new form's sword. Demonic reveals that only the one Niel loves the most can bring out the sword's true power, but it was Jessica's voice, not Courtney's, that made the sword lighter. Niel was finally able to slay Aku. So Niel's got this new form. When Jessica said his name, the sword got these red flames, and it was able to be lifted, and it was Jessica's voice that did that, so that's why Courtney kind of has this misconception, or is it a misconception? I don't know. We need to learn what's going on there. So first we start out with this guy here carrying this little sword pendant to the demon castle. Very good. This hand? A prosthetic left behind by D4.0. Luckily, I was able to get it before the U.S. Army discovered D4.0's storage. Cut over to California, now leaving Pinion Hills. Azank! Hippo wants to know why you're sitting back here. You named the penguin Hippo? No! That's the name his mama gave him. Azank! Would you two shut up? I'm trying to drive. Oh. Only the one Niel loves the most can bring out the Jaeger sword's true power. Meaning, the one Niel loves, the one who made the sword lighter, is Jessica. Suddenly giant demon! Niel immediately goes into his third form. Niel. Sword catches flame. There it is. It's her voice that makes the sword stronger. Niel goes in for a stab. You seem to have an issue here. He's too small to cause any real damage. A couple fighter jets come in. The Air Force? Boom! Direct hit. Ooh, man, there is not much left of him. As you should know, any wound not caused by the Demon Slayer will regenerate. I suggest you come with me. Oh, it's the military involved now. Fort Irwin. Levi Welch told us where to find D4.0's warehouse, and we recently raided it. General Stahl, sir, the item you requested. That's D4.0. As I thought. I was told he is currently harmless, just to be safe. Niel quickly transforms and slays D4.0. He's absorbed into the sword. So I take it you have a plan for fighting the giant demon? If you just take a look in this hangar over here, you'll have your answer. Niel. Very big. Very big. A mega deuce. A what? It's a term meaning giant robot from Niel's favorite TV show, Big O. However, it's not finished. I'm Major Norman Berg, the head engineer of this project. We found this robot in D4.0's warehouse. It still needs more work before it's ready for battle. You're not planning on using it against the giant demon, are you? Only the Jaeger sword can slay demons. That's why we want to run the Jaeger sword's energy directly into the robot's sword. I'm not sure if that would work or not, but it's worth a shot. But that would mean you have to pilot it. This is what happens when one man's happiness level reaches a critical level. We'll need Niel and Demonic to help design the finishing touches. That night. It feels weird being away from the Jaeger sword. Why did they keep it? It's a big part of the robot's control system. They need it for adjustments. Did something happen between you and Courtney? She seems pretty mad at you lately. I don't know. Wow, Niel's scars make him look buff. Back at Fort Irwin, we see the sword being heavily analyzed. What are your findings, Major? Well, the sword seems to be a lot stronger than it should be. For example, the handle is pure gold, but it's far more dense and strong than gold should be. What do you expect from a sword made from God? Can you replicate it? We should be able to make a sword that will bestow the wielder with the same enhancements. Perfect. Did you hear all that, Sergeant Jaeger? Bro, how am I gonna stop this? The big day. What's with the tux? Zerk. Here it comes. See, it's kind of chasing a fighter jet. Fighter jet veers away. Niel grins, holds up his watch. Big Niel! Showtime! Fuck all happens. Even the demon's confused. Hello, I said Big Niel, showtime! Major Barrick, that means he wants you to bring out the robot. Oh, beep. Boom. Rising from the ground is Big Niel. Wow. So, why did you have us bury it? Because it looks cool. Niel jumps into the cockpit. Cast in the name of God, ye not guilty. Big Niel! Action! The fight begins. Swords clash. A punch in the face. The demon breathes fire, but the arms act as shields. Ah! Oh, got him on the edge. You're doing great. The demon doesn't stand a chance. Time to make it transform. What? Why? You're winning. Big Niel, final stage. The sword, boom, expands. See, it kind of gets longer, and then these little blades come out on each side to make it just a wider sword as well. The hair goes flying off. Bring in the hairpiece. Couple choppers come delivering a new piece. Locks on. Click. Niel has transformed into his third form within the cockpit. No. Transformation complete. Where the fuck did that arm go? Where did the right arm go? The demon tore it off while you were busy transforming. But the robot is stronger now, right? No, it's weaker. The sword is harder to wield, the hairpiece is way too heavy, and the color change used up half the power. So why did you make it transform, Niel? Because it looked cool. Grow up! All right, it's showtime, folks. Let's go! Another swing of the sword. Back and forth, the battle continues. Going in for a stab. Ah! Right through the gut. And off the cliff. Yeah! Warning. And the robot completely breaks down. The robot is broken. Too bad. Because you kept screwing around! Nah! Foot shot. And extra page. Next time on Hellgate, Battle 30, The One I Love Is You. Niel leaves his friends behind, not wanting any of them to get hurt like Courtney did, but Niel runs into a demon, and without Jessica, he cannot lift the sword in its third form. And Niel finally reveals the one he truly loves above all else. Commentary time. So, there's actually an alt of this comic cover. For funsies, I made one in where it's in its third form. I never posted it anywhere, but it exists. Niel's eye design is actually slightly different here than what is usually. It's kind of off model, but I just felt like it fit better for his expression. So his eyes are just kind of just slightly. They're just the design is just slightly off model, but it works for this cover. I'll cover the design of Big Niel later in the issue. So yeah, Return of Flappy Cow Demon. That's just what I fucking know him as. He appeared in an earlier issue. I just loved him too much to kill him off, so he's just kind of now he's running as an errand boy for the Demon King. And yeah, this sword is, you see, Aku's got this big sword here. When the eye is closed, the sword shrinks down to a pendant. And we see that although Aku was defeated, he has now given the sword to the Demon King. The Demon King, of course, lost his hand in an earlier issue to a cut by the Jaeger sword, so it's a permanent injury. There was a mistake in an issue since then where he has the hand back, but that's just a mistake. Now I've completely replaced his hand with a robotic prosthetic. Pinion Hills, California is a place I've actually been. I visited there just before I started college after high school. I met some friends on Gaia Online who lived out there, and I went and stayed with them for a week in December of 2006. It's a small desert town up in the mountains, and so this is kind of like a little Easter egg to them. This is the first time we learned Hippo's name as being Hippo, the penguin, and this is the only explanation we get is why is his name Hippo? That's the name his mama gave him, and also Jesse can understand him. And we're just going to accept that. And we see Courtney is still not in a good mood. This is actually interesting. I was in college when I made this issue. I remember that very clearly because I was in a speech class and we had to give a speech on how to do something. And I did a speech on how to make comics. And this was actually the page I was working on and what I used for my example for that speech. This page on the right was the page I used to it was the one I was in a work in progress, and I use that as an example of a work in progress page and what order I do things in. These fighter jets, not half bad. Not half bad for back then. Not a biggest fan of this explosion here, but really hex him up. This is the premiere of a character called Bruce Stahl, General Bruce Stahl. He'll be reoccurring. He's actually based off my guy I was working with at the time. I worked at a gas station. I made the pizzas, and he started working there around the same time. He was a vet, and I asked if I could use him as the basis for this character. He was never a general, mind you. Fort Irwin is near Pinion Hills, and that's actually where my brother was stationed. So I've been there too. I actually visited both my friends from Gaia Online in Pinion Hills and Fort Irwin to see my brother. So that is an actual military fort in California. D4.0. So if you don't remember him, he first appeared at the end of issue 5, but his main thing was issue 6. In issue 6, he had created robot copies of the entire cast. And then he later made a robot copy of Courtney that fell in love with Niel. And they had to actually go into cyberspace to stop him. And so that's why he's deactivated here, is because he basically has been uploaded with a virus that has completely shut down his systems. So he's harmless here, but here's where we kind of get that closure where he finally gets slain and absorbed into the sword. We actually won't learn anything more about D4.0 until Heaven Gate, but there is actually some more lore to learn about him in Heaven Gate. And here we have our first look at the giant robot, the skeleton of it. And yeah, Mega Deuce. So let's start talking about the hugest inspiration for this comic. Anime called Big O. Big O is quite a good anime. it has a lot of visual similarity to Batman the Animated Series because it's the same animation studio. But while Batman was a American cartoon, this was a Japanese anime, uh, because a lot of animation's outsourced anyway. So it has a lot of visual similarity to Batman the Animated Series in terms of art style and even the ambiance. Um, Paradigm City looks a lot like Gotham in terms of just the color palette. And it's about giant robots. They're called Megaduces. The main character, Roger Smith, his Megaduce is called Big O. And Norman Berg, we see this is Major Norman Berg here. That name's actually pulled from Big O as well. Norman Berg is the name of Roger Smith's butler who helps maintain Big O. So that was also another reference there. There's actually a reference to Big O. I believe in the previous issue, you can see Niel actually reading a volume of Big O. And yeah, Niel still has some scars from his kind of brush with demonic explosion a few issues back. So areas where his like skin was ripping apart from his muscle mass, and then the cut on his cheek from his fight from Aku. And then this is kind of, well, for one, I really kind of hate this scene. It's Talking Head Syndrome. It's two characters close-ups, and they both, the only difference is like their eyes, so it can be kind of visually confusing on who's talking here. Not a big fan of that. But this is kind of setting up a future plot point where they're kind of doing some studying of the Jaeger sword and seeing if they can duplicate it. Why is everyone bald? Because it's the military. You gotta shave your head. Not necessarily. In fact, here we see Brian, the return of Brian, Niel's older brother. And yep, Niel's in a tux because that's what Roger Smith always wears in Big O. Not a big fan of these close-up of his mouth here. I did my best, but I could probably do better now. Also, not a big fan of this here. Just his face is very extreme, but his body's still stiff. That he should be like, you know? Not very good drawing. Also weird that there's just like this control panel out in the middle of nowhere in this field where you can release the giant robot. And yeah, they buried it. Why? Because it looks cool. Because that is how fucking it worked in Big O. Big O always appeared from the ground. I still kind of like the design for Big Niel. It's heavily inspired by Big O, where like this huge neck section, which is where the cockpit is in Big O. And the large arms are definitely, like the large forearms are definitely Big O inspired. The faces. It's not bad. It definitely needs some refinement, and giant robots aren't really my specialty, but it's you know, it could be a lot more boring. Cast in the name of God, ye not guilty. That is what always shows up on the screen during Big O. I'm not the biggest fan of it being here because there's like no in-universe reason for the screen to say that in this. There's just more callback, but that's probably the one where I think I went a smidge too far. And also the reason I also decided to brand the sword, the giant robot with American iconography, because it was being basically built by the U.S. military. So it's got an American flag on it. It says USA on one arm. It says Jaeger on the other arm because it's Niel's big robot. Not the most exciting fight in terms of artistic ability. This here on the left is yeah. There's so little movement in the poses. Much better now. But you can get there fighting, but... And then it's time for the transformation. I kind of explained this before about how it worked. The way the sword expands like that. It is largely not a good transformation. It actually hurts the robot, so I thought it'd be funny. Just Neil's like, it has a cool transformation. It's like, well, a cool transformation won't actually make it stronger. I don't know why they let him implement it anyway. And a lot of what Niel's saying is taken directly out of Big O. Big Niel, showtime! All right, it's showtime, folks. Let's go! Big Niel, action! This is stuff that Roger Smith shouts while he's piloting Big O. The way Niel pilots it, I really like how Niel pilots the big robot, is that he uses the sword. So he kind of like puts the sword into this like compartment or this little area in the cockpit, and that's how he like pilots it, is just like using the sword as like a giant joystick almost. I don't know if I clearly showed that. It's kind of shown here in this last frame where he's like really pushing it forward to get it going. And then he stabs the demon and off the cliff. And the foot shot. This actually predates the internet's fascination with feet as a fetish. I just had an extra frame and decided to be funny with it. And that was it. That was the whole issue. So yeah, next time is Battle 30, which is a big one. So yeah, that was Hellgate Battle 29. Big Neil, thank you for that redeem, Lord of Kirby 60.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the like button, and I'd love to read your comments below. And make sure you're subscribed so you know when the next comic goes up. Also, check the description for a playlist of any readings you may have already missed. And if you'd like to read ahead, all of these comics are free on my website, YaegerComics.com. Bye!